Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Bob's Woodshop. I'm just finishing up this mini lathe. This is a combination of mahogany with a lot of brass fittings. I made those, and let's get into it. The reason I made this was to bring this to different wood turning events or woodworking events that I attend throughout the year. I think this is a nice showpiece item. Not really sure what I'm going to do with it. Might put it on my mantle. But during presentations and demonstrations that we do, I'll bring this along and actually turn on it. Well, this project's going to be a little different. I thought it'd be cool to have a showpiece lathe, but a lathe made out of wood. And I was investigating different types of motors and motor control units and being able to get spindles for a lathe, both the drive and the live center. And I was thinking about maybe getting a treadmill motor and messing around with that. And I decided, it's going to be easier just to get an old lathe, which this is, and strip this for parts, and then go ahead and make the wood lathe portion of it out of this. So the parts that I really wanted were the shaft, the motor controller here, and the tailstock spindle. And it was actually a lot less expensive to get this old lathe, which I had gotten on a really good price. And by the way, if you have a turn crafter or thinking about getting a turn crafter, if you already have one, it's a great little machine. If you're thinking about getting it, again, it's a great little machine. It's a great starter lathe. They're only about $470 at Penn State Industries. But this is actually my fourth lathe. And I just thought it'd be kind of fun to make a wood lathe. So what we're going to be doing next, I'm going to continue the strip down process. And then I want to make the headstock. I need to get a piece here and a piece here. Now the critical dimension on this is the spindle, right? So this spindle was not a standard size drill. It was, of course, made that a lot more complex. So what we did the other day, we ended up doing a practice hole here. So first thing I want to do is really concentrate on making the headstock. So I need this side and the other side. And I'm basically going to just copy these dimensions and make this out of wood. Once I have the headstock and the proper holes drilled here, then it's going to be relatively easy. I'll be able to strip the motor out and the motor mount. But right now I'm just going to concentrate on making the headstock, and then I'm going to make the bed. Okay, I'm going to make the project out of mahogany, Sapele Mahogany. This is a piece of 9.5 by 15 inches long, and I'm not going to bore you with all the milling of this, but I got to send this through the planer. Okay, so I cut some 2x3 mahogany for the bed, cut it at an angle. It's about 10 or 15 degrees. Just match it up with my bevel. And I got the parts of the headstock there. So the next critical dimension is getting these holes for where the bearing goes. And we got to drill a hole and then drill that out to the exact dimension of the bearing right there. So if you've never seen a boring head before, this is primarily a machinist tool that they go into aluminum, brass, and other metals. And then this enables you to dial in the exact hole diameter that you need. So again, you got to start out with a hole that's a little bit smaller than this, and then go to the final dimension by sneaking up on that and or measuring. Okay, we just drilled this hole with this bit, which is about an 1/8 inch narrower than the hole needs to be for the bearing. is really critical because we're sneaking up on this dimension. And we're only taking a couple thousandths off at a time. We want this bearing to fit just snugly in here. So we got the bearings pressed on, and we're just doing a little fine fitting to make sure the shaft fits in this hole. Okay, here's how it's looking after day one. It's starting to look like a lathe. I have to make a wood tailstock. There's the beginnings of a banjo. Spend a little more time tomorrow and put a few more pieces and bits in here. Okay, next thing I got to do is glue up some wood in order to make this undercarriage infrastructure and this piece also. This is a total of about 14 inches between the two of those pieces. And I've glued up this piece of mahogany that I'm going to have to wait to let dry overnight, and then I'll plane that down and be able to make these legs. Next thing here, I got to make these slots so that I can get the banjo and the tailstock locks in place. And I think I'm going to do that on the table saw. And then I also have to cut out this part so that the belt can come through there, and I'm going to also do that on the table saw. Okie doke. So I got this set for about 1 inch and 2 inches widthwise here. Let's double check that. That looks good, and I think we can go ahead and do these cuts. Okay, in order to make that slot, I got to cut out this little piece here. And again, I'm going to do that on the table saw. Let me get that set up. Okay, so we got that long plow, and we got this long dado, and yeah, on to the next step. All I gotta do is figure out which one it is. Okay, I need the base of the headstock, so I cut extra pieces of this when I was cutting the sides, and I've got these lines marked here, and I just gotta cut that to length. And the same for the top up here. So I got the top on, this top piece of the headstock, and there's almost a little bit of interference right there. And I need that, this is the lock to hold the shaft in place, the spindle in place. So what I think I'm gonna do is just cut a little slot right here so that this fits in here a lot better. I'm going to do that on the crosscut slit. And that slot will give me the clearance that I need so there's no interference between this locking gear. And on to the next step. Okay, I'm lucking out. This is a 5/8 by 18 thread, and I just happen to have that, and I tried a couple test holes, and that's the exact same size, and this fits in there really nice. Okay, this is the end of the second day. Honestly, I only probably have about 4 or 5 hours into it so far. Had to make this end cap, made the banjo today, and another end cap, and cut out this recess. And I went ahead and put this locking feature in there. It's coming along pretty good. So at this point in the build, I decided not to do any more recording because the video was going to get pretty long. So I'm just going to explain the rest of the process for you. So after gluing up the bed and making all those grooves, which I showed you earlier, I ended up making a banjo out of the same mahogany. And then I made this brass part. This is a 1-inch piece of brass with a 5/8 inch rod here. So I just did that on my metal lathe, drilled a hole in the drill press and fitted it perfectly into this. So this is actually a friction fit, but it's a very tight friction fit. For the tail stock, it's basically 3 pieces of wood. This is the base that rides up and down on the bed, the support, and the quill support. The quill was 28 millimeters, and I didn't have a drill bit that side, so I ordered one on Amazon, and this works perfectly well. The brass bushings here are washers we made on the metal lathe in the basement, and then I ordered a couple brass bolts from McMaster Carr. Certainly, one of the big reasons I stripped down the other lathe was I wanted to get the motor and the motor controller. It was going to be very difficult to get those items just by stripping some other piece of equipment. So, yeah, for instance, like a treadmill, I really didn't want to get into that. And then the other reason I stripped the other one because I wanted to get the spindle with the Morse taper and the quill with the Morse taper. So it ended up working out pretty good. I think it's a really nice showpiece, and it's also very functional. I did put the lock/unlock button on the top. My buddy has a sheet metal brake, so I got a piece of brass door kick and went over to his place, and he bent this for me because I don't have that capability in my shop. So like I said, the lathe is fully functional. I really wanted the variable speed on here. And I got one of my Bob's Woodshop pen blanks on here, so this will work perfectly fine. So that's about going to wrap up this episode. I hope you like it, even though I didn't show the entire build process, only about halfway. But I think the rest of it at the finish here is kind of self-explanatory. If you like my content, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next episode.